Oh, good morning, folks. It's been a while, probably not too long. Hope you all doing well this morning. Hope today finds you doing well. I've had quite the weekend, even though, right now it's Wednesday, but had something transpire over the weekend. I came home on Friday, and I could barely get into my apartment. And I was trying to push in and whatever, and discovered that the ceiling had collapsed in my apartment, which I was kind of expecting because I had seen signs of it. And I called the landlord, and he sent someone over that previous night, and they said they would come back, the next week and, get it all fixed. But when I came home on Friday, the ceiling had totally collapsed in my living room, and it was nasty. It was real nasty. Old installation, looked like big old chunks of dust all in my living room. And the fortunate thing is the only thing that was broken was the gift I gave to my wife for her birthday. That was it. But the landlord, he called the repair guy, and by, when I got home, it was about 3:30 when I got home. By about 8 o'clock, you could hardly tell that anything had happened, except the furniture had been moved and everything, where they cleaned up. The person the landlord hired to clean up and everything, he did a phenomenal job. He even had most of the ceiling put back into place. And my concern wasn't the mess that the ceiling would make if it collapsed. My concern was, I ain't know what was living up in that roof, because we're at the top floor, and I ain't know what was living in that roof. And sure enough, when I got home and I saw the roof had collapsed, I looked up and saw this big spider. And me and spiders, we just don't get along. I'm not, I have I wouldn't say I have a severe case, but I have a moderately severe case of arachnophobia. Even though I like reading about them and studying about them and everything. And even when I was a kid, my favorite superhero was Spider-Man. Figured that one out. But anyway, everything's good. By Sunday, you couldn't even tell that anything had happened. They did a phenomenal job coming in, cleaning up, put in a new ceiling and everything, so I'm good. And I would, before I go into my subject, just want to request prayer that I've been, as you all know, I've had surgery and everything, and I've been worried about my health, although I'm still strong and everything like that. But, I'm wondering, where I go from here now that I don't have a gallbladder. But I just solicit your prayers in that. But anyway, let me go into my subject. And this subject is like a 2-for-1. Here recently, we've been hit by the news. We've been hit by news about a fight. Really not a fight, but an attack in downtown Cincinnati at a jazz festival. And we've also been hit by news about a shooting in Manhattan that took the lives of 4 people. Now, let me deal with the Cincinnati one first. As you all know, or as you may know, I can't assume that you may know, but Cincinnati has a terrible crime problem. And one of the things that bothers me about a city with a terrible crime problem is its leadership. And a lot of times the leadership doesn't really do anything about the crime problem. They'll come in and they'll say, oh yeah, we're going to deal with the crime problem, yada, yada, yada. But basically what they want to do is they care more about politics than they do about doing their jobs. And so this incident in Cincinnati involved a gang of black people beating down on, it looked like a white couple. They were stomping on this one guy's head, and he tried to get up and he fell out, kind of like, when a boxer knocks somebody out and they try to stand up and they fall back down to the ground. I don't know what started the altercation or whatever, but then you see this dude, black dude, just absolutely cold cocked this white lady and knocked her out, locked her slam out. And now, first of all, there were, I don't know if it was hundreds or thousands of people in downtown Cincinnati. Now, when you have an event like that, you would suppose that the police would have a presence, foot patrol, bicycle patrol, whatever. But it took the police 3 minutes to get to the scene. By then, the perpetrators had gone, like the cowards that they are. And where were the foot patrols? You got a major event in a downtown area. But anyway, we see it on the news and whatever. And this is the thing that really irks me a lot. Look, first of all, I don't care if you're black or white or anything like that. If you're a criminal, if you commit a crime, you commit a crime, and you don't need to be treated any different than anybody else. But it seems like when a black person is involved in a crime, especially with a white person, the powers that be treat it with kid gloves. They won't put the pictures of the people up on, the news feed or anything like that. And they'll get up and they'll say something like, yes, we're looking into this and we're trying to see if this is a hate crime and everything. Yeah, but if it were a bunch of white people beating down on black folks, all of a sudden, boom, hate crime. You're not going to even try to look into it. And not only that, you will have the pictures of these white folks up before the sun rises. Yeah, we know who it is, boom, 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 yada, yada, yada. But with black folks, it's like, oh yeah, we got to look into this. We're investigating. We're trying to figure out this and nah. Because if these had been white people, we would have known before the day was over who they were, their names and everything. And they said they've charged 5 people in this incident, but how come we don't know their names? How come we don't know their names? And see, this treating black people with kid gloves thing has got to stop. You don't want to be seen as racist. Let them call you racist. You're doing your job. You're supposed to be doing your job. Let them call you racist. But this is what happens when you get DEI hires, because the police chief of Cincinnati is a woman. And they care more about politics than they do about doing what's right. That's what they care more about. And you know, it really rattles my mind when I see this type of stuff. I'm like, treat them like criminals, because that is what they are. And see, here's the thing too. They only got one 911 call involving this incident. One 911 call. And then once again, you get a bunch of these rascals who want to get their 15 minutes of fame on WildStar Hip Hop or YouTube or any of these other places. And they're sitting there, ooh, instead of helping the people, breaking it up. And they're and they got their phones out recording. They need to be charged as well. Now, you all can charge the cameraman in the case of Ahmaud Arbery a few years ago. Y'all charge him with murder, even though he was just recording. Now, what about these little rascals? Are y'all going to charge them too? Oh, because they're black. Oh, we got to treat this different. We got to be a little bit more sensitive because we don't want people to think we're racist. We got to get political about this. I say round them up and put them in jail. Now, I don't know why the altercation started. Someone said it was because one of them made a racial slur against the black folks. The white guy made a racial slur against the black folks. And see, that's another thing too. Look, if someone comes up and calls me the N-word, it's not going to put me into a rage that I want to beat them down and that I feel justified by beating them down because they called me the N-word. That's stupid. So you mean your petty wibble feelings mean more to you than just saying, okay, you know, he called me the N-word, whatever. But you feel justified in beating someone down because they called you the N-word. I don't know why this camera is not steady this morning. You care about your petty wibble feelings, but you can sit there and call white folks snow bunnies and all that and everything, and you expect them to take it. But someone calls you the N-word, oh, you know, I got to beat them down. What's good for the goose is good for the gander. You know, and by me being black, I don't expect to be treated any different than anybody else, although I'm black. I don't expect to be treated any different. If I commit a crime, I need to do the time. And if you're going to put up the face of a white person when they commit an act, you need to put up the faces of black people too, and bump your politics. Now, let me go on to the other subject. 27-year-old dude goes into a Manhattan company, shoots it up, kills 4 people. And once again, when I heard about this incident, I wanted to check it out, see who this person was. And whenever something happens, like you have a lone shooter or whatever, and they don't put their picture up immediately, almost automatically my mind goes to, I wonder if this person is black. And so someone put up a picture, but the person looked white. I don't know if they doctored it to make the person look white or whatever, but discovered that this person was a black person. And people were doing their speculations. Oh, you know, white people are the only ones who commit mass shootings and everything, that's a lie. 75% of mass shootings are committed by black people. I think a mass shooting involves at least 3 victims. And with that definition, black people commit more mass shootings than anyone else. So this dude goes in, shoots up this business or whatever it was, and found out he's a 27-year-old black dude. Used to play on his football team at his high school. But once again, they delay showing his picture. And I do believe it's because he is black. Because it doesn't fit the narrative. You know, the narrative is only white people commit acts of mass violence. Yeah, we black people, we do this, but it's more on an individual basis. But it's the white folks who commit the mass shootings and everything and stuff like that. It doesn't fit the narrative. I remember back, I think it was 2000, about 20, a little more than, about 25 years ago. And we had the incident involving the DC snipers, and people were trying to, you know, do their analysis. Oh, this is a white person. This is more than likely a white person, and yada, yada, yada. Found out it was 2 black guys. 2 black guys going around shooting people around the DC area. Of course, I was a little concerned because my mom lives in the DC area. I got family up in the DC area. My mom, I got an aunt, and a couple of cousins, you know. But it doesn't fit their narrative because they already got it out there that it's only white people that commit acts of mass violence, you know. And you hear people say that, you know, oh, it's only them white people. Only white people do these mass shootings because you see the videos about shooting up high schools and everything, and it's a white person. And it's horrible either way. I don't care if you're black or white. It's horrible to commit an act of mass violence. But we need to stop playing, we need to stop treating black folks with kid gloves. We need to stop it. Just because they're black doesn't mean that we need to treat them any different than anyone else. Just because you're black does not mean you are less or a special kind of human. You know, and I'm gonna sidetrack a little bit, but a lot of times, you know, when you got a senator or, well, you got someone who is running for public office and you get a bunch of black people coming out, well, what are you going to do for black people? What am I going to do for black people? Same thing I'm going to do for everybody else. Why do I need to treat you any different? No, the question you need to be asking is, what are black people going to do for themselves? We can only do so much in public office, but what are you going to do for yourselves? What are you going to go out and teach your kids to respect authority? Are you going to teach your kids that education is one of the most important things that they can gain in this life? Are you going to go through your neighborhoods and say, hey, you all, let's stop the drugs. Let's stop the killings and everything. They already stereotyping us, and we don't need to be helping them perpetuate the stereotype. So we need to clean up our act. We need to clean up our neighborhoods. Is that what you're going to do? Or are you waiting for a politician to do that for you? Is that what you're waiting for? You think the government's going to do everything for you, everything you do? Are you going to teach your kids how to eat healthy and things like that? Are you going to do that? So why are you asking politicians to do this for you? What are you going to do for black people? What are black people going to do for themselves? That's the question that we all need to ask. I tell people I am a 56-year-old black man going on 57. I'll be 57 in the next couple of months. The police don't know who I am. You know why? Because I don't break the law. I don't go out and commit crimes. You know why? Because I took the responsibility upon myself that when a police officer pulls you over, don't sit there and fuss with them. You ran a stop sign, you need to own up to it. You didn't signal before you turn, you need to own up to it. I'm not going to sit there and argue with the police and fuss at them and start talking about, oh, the only reason why you pulled me over is because I'm black. And I see that too many times. See it too many times. Why'd you stop me? Why'd you stop me? Well, it's because you ran through that stop sign. I didn't run through no stop sign. I didn't run through no stop sign. Then they ask you for your ID. What you need my ID for? What you need my ID for? I don't need to give you. I know my rights, boy. I tell you, I've seen so many of these police videos. I've seen so many of them. I've seen several tons of them over the last 30 years. And it's always the same thing. What do you mean? What do you mean? I didn't do nothing. I didn't do nothing. And then you will turn a simple traffic stop into a major felony. He pulled you over because you ran a red light. But now you're going to jail for resisting arrest, not showing your ID, obstruction of justice, because you want to fuss at the cops. Now, I shared this story before. I was in Alabama one time, and I knew I was over the speed limit. I knew I was. Police officer pulled me over. I didn't fuss with him. He said, "Sir, you know why I pulled you over?" I said, "Yeah, because I was speeding." Matter of fact, I pulled over to the side of the road before he even flashed his lights because I knew he caught me. And I don't even think it was 15 minutes. He was there, wrote me the ticket, boom, have a nice day, boom. And I'm sitting there like, I shouldn't have been speeding. Simple. Didn't go to jail. He didn't have his hand on his gun. He didn't tell me to get out of the car. Already had my window down when he came to the window. Just because I'm black does not mean I need to be treated any different than anybody else. That's just how it is. I'm an American citizen and I'm subject to the laws of this country. And I don't know why black people think that, every time the police interact with them, they're harassing them. No, they're not harassing you. 9 times out of 10, if a police officer is pulling you over, they probably don't know if you're black or white. They probably don't. But we always want to play this thing, they're just doing this because we're black and yada, yada, yada. But, my main point is that we don't need to be treated with kid gloves. And I wish those in authority, the politicians, the police chiefs, all these people, I wish they would stop trying to be political all the time and just do your freaking job. You got cities around the country, most of them are run by Democrats. They have a high crime rate. But you know why the crime rates are so high? Because they're more concerned with being politically correct than they are about the crime. Oh yeah, we got crime, but white supremacy, white privilege. They care more about race relations than they do about crime in their cities. And folks, you are not going to tell me that these rascals cannot stop crime in their cities. You're not going to convince me of that. Yeah, you're going to have those people that try, to challenge the authority. You're always going to have that. But our cities should not be so overrun with crime like they are today. I used to live in Washington, D.C., crime-ridden, still crime-ridden. Even about 40 years after I left that city, still crime-ridden. Why? Because you got activist politicians up there who care more about being politically correct than they do about crime in their cities. Because they don't want to face the reality that a lot of this crime is committed by people who look like me. And don't you dare mention black on black crime. Oh, well, black on black crime. Well, what about white on white crime? Crime is crime. I don't care if it's black on black, white on white, Asian on Asian, Hispanic on Hispanic. Crime is crime. But they point out the black on black crime because black people keep talking about, oh, well, the white police officers, they're killing us off at an alarming rate. And probably less than 20 black people get killed by the police every year. But how many black people kill other black people? Something to think about. And see, when people mention black on black crime, they're trying to make a point. You all talking about white police officers are killing you, but look at how you're killing each other. And don't get me started on abortion. Don't even get me started on that. But this is why, you know, when you see certain incidents on the news or whatever, this is why sometimes it takes a while for you to know who the perpetrator is, because they don't want to be seen as racist. And that is causing suffering among those who are more innocent among us, because we have to deal with the crime because the politicians don't deal with it. And then here's the thing. The citizens will sit there and vote for somebody who cares more about racial issues than they do about crime issues. They don't care about the crime. They care about, and it's too many of us doing this. Too many of us. And the sad thing about it is there are people who call themselves Christians who do this. Call themselves Christians. How in the world are you going to call yourself a Christian? You're more concerned with politics, but people are getting gunned down and murdered in your city, but you care more about race relations than you do about dealing with the crime. How can you call yourself a Christian? But that's just a point I wanted to bring across this morning. Something for you to chew on, to think about, and whatever. And if you, once again, and I'm going to make this shtick every time, you know, if I said anything that's out of the way or whatever, please correct me. Please correct me, or bring up a concern, a question, or whatever. Just let me know. But I just hope you learn, you're getting what I'm talking about. You know, this nonsense has to stop. And it's not going to stop until individuals determine we're not going to let this go on anymore. Because, see, it starts at the individual level. Then it can spread at the collective level. But once the individuals say, hey, no more, and you get together with others saying no more, then it becomes collective. And then, you know, when you go out there to vote, you say, you know, I hear you talking about race relations, but what are you going to do about the crime? And of course, it takes a effort from all of us, not just our politicians or the authorities or anything like that. It starts with the individual. So black folks, next time you go to vote for somebody and you want to ask a question, well, what are you going to do for black folks? Think about it. What are you going to do for yourselves? I'm Vincent E. Brown. I'm signing off. Until the next time, you all stay healthy, stay safe, have a great day. I'll see you on the rebound.